Well, hello everybody, it is Dan, your friendly fishmonger from dansfish.com, and today I'm going to give you a tour of my fish room. I've had a lot of requests for this, so I'm going to start off just kind of showing you the fish room in general, a little bit about how it's set up, and then I'll go tank by tank and show you every fish I have. So it's going to be a long one, so grab some popcorn or something, because we might be here for a little while. So first of all, here is the room. So I'm standing at the door, and here's one row, and then a couple rows there, a couple rows there. Then we go by this big white chimney, a couple more rows. These are all 75-gallon tanks, all those tanks we're looking at now. Then we go here, I have 125-gallon on top there that'll be moving and putting some 75 gallons up there. But these are all holding tanks basically for raising fry or importing fish, getting them all quarantined and ready to resell, things like that. So I do breeding and I also ship fish in. Here is a rack of 6 20 longs and then a busted 75-gallon there. A forklift punched through the short side of this guy. That's why that 75-gallon is right there. I just need to dispose of it. I was going to try to repair it, but the amount of time and money and things it would take probably are not going to make it worth it. So there's 3 20 gallons here, 20 longs, and then 3 more here. And right now they're just full of blackworms and snails and detritus worms and amphipods, which we call scuds, just to keep them alive until I put fish in them basically. Then down here is breeding central. So these are 5.5-gallon tanks, and they're great for pairing fish or raising fry. And I'll go into each fish in there in a moment after I give you the general overview of this fish room. And over here, these are 30-gallon breeder tanks that I have, which are great again for breeding and raising fish. All of this system, the complete system is, hang on. There, now I can see it. It's all kind of automated. Water flows through it, water flows out of it, and it's automatic fill, automatic drain. And that's really the only way I could keep a system this large up with the amount of fish in it that I have, because it's a lot of work. So that's kind of how it works. It's all central heat. There's a central air pump, a linear piston pump from Gemco. It's only a couple feet away from me, and it's not super loud. You can basically hear the bubbles in the tanks, and then I can hear a slight buzzing from here, the pump, but it's not annoying at all. It's much better than the old type of regenerative blower pumps that we used to have, which were like as loud as a train braking on the tracks. They were loud. So anyway, that's the general overview. I guess I could show you. This is a desk area, a freezer here full of, well, frozen food, and over there is kind of a workstation and a packing station and a sink. So most of it is aquariums. There is some room to expand, but not a whole lot, and right now I don't have a lot of time to expand. I mean, this is about what I can handle, but there's some room and I have some plans for expanding later. But anyway, I'm going to take you tank by tank now and show you what's in every tank. And all these fish are for sale. There's a massive sale going on at dansfish.com. Lots of stuff is 50% off. If it's not 50%, it's like 30%, but most things are 50% off. And the reason is I'm trying to clear out all of my fish because I have a shipment of killifish that I'm dying to get in from Africa. Some beautiful killifish. It's mostly killifish. A few Aphyosemian species, an Platies species, some lampi species, and then in addition I'll get a couple different cichlid species, and a Pelvichroma species, a Paratilapia gunthri, I think is the other one, and some rare catfish and rare tetras. Just stuff that you never see. And I'm excited to get it in. I have a guy there ready to collect it and send it to me, and I just need to make room. So we're all ready to go, but I've got to clear all this stuff out. So massive sale, dansfish.com. until everything's cleared out. So hopefully in the next week or two we can move a lot of stuff. So every fish you're gonna see is for sale unless otherwise noted, but almost everything's for sale. Okay, so here we go. So we're gonna start. So that's the freezer, that's the door you come through, and the first tank you would see if you came in the door and turned to your left is this one. Right now it's an Algae Farm, and I have writing on all these tanks because I had to leave for a business trip, and I left some instructions on how to feed each tank on the tank. So you'll see some writing and some code. That was just to instruct my wife how to care for the fish when I was gone. So this one has a lot of algae on the front of the tank. Sorry about that, but these are awesome fish. They're rainbow fish, they're maculacis. They don't get very big. In fact, some of these are almost full grown, 2.5 inches, maybe pushing 3 inches, but not quite. So tank full of beautiful maculacis, and I also have some swordtails in here that are a gray swordtail, kind of a gray base, a ghost swordtail, and they come from the koi line. I actually will throw those on the website right now because I don't think that the gray base swords are on the website yet. But anyway, that's row number one, or tank number one on row number one. So I'm gonna scoot you over here to the next tank, and these are angelfish, lots of them. Let me get a little focused here. Now I've raised these guys up from when I got them, they were like dime size. Now some of them are pushing 2 to 3 inches, silver dollar size, 50-cent size. 1 or 2 might be quarter size, but they're all quarter size and above, most 50-cent to dollar size, silver dollar size. Platinum angels, some are pearl scale, some aren't. I don't really differentiate that on the website because it's hard to pick them out. So if you order platinums from me, you'll get some regular scale, you might get some pearl scale. I've got both in here. The other thing that's in here is there's one up there right now. There's some Corydoras trilineatus in here. Let me see if I can see some. They're the guys on the bottom, these little catfish. Corydoras are awesome. They're a perfect citizen, peaceful, wonderful little companions to almost any other peaceful aquarium fish. So that's tank number 2. Rolling over here to tank number 3 on the top. These are another rainbow fish. They're pretty awesome. Melanotania trifasciata. There are a ton of trifasciatas in the hobby. These are an aquarium strain. They don't have a specific location, but they're gorgeous. They're not even fired up right now. And you got bad glare and things, but you get an idea of what these guys look like. In here with them, on the bottom here, are some albino Corydoras aeneas. And then here I have some Limia perugiae. This is my original adult breeders. They're still going, still dropping fry. They were starting to act a little weird in the other tank I had them in. They were in there alone for a long time. So I moved them in this tank and they perked right up. So just a change of tank helped. That was several months ago. And since then they've been acting totally normal. So there was something about having companions that really helped them, which, I don't know, doesn't always work, but sometimes that works. It wasn't like they were diseased or anything. I wouldn't have moved them in here if they were. It's just I don't know, I thought they might need some company the way they were acting, and it turns out they're doing really well in here and loving it. So the rainbows kind of gave them a life. Just the activity in the tank around them perked them right up. And they've been doing great in here. They've dropped a few batches of fry. Oh, it looks like this female right here is about ready to drop again. So I'll be moving her to a small brood tank where she can do that. Anyway, there you go. Tank number 3, row number 1. Let's go to row number 2. And here we go. Row number 2, top tank. These are what are left of the Denisoni barbs, or roseline barbs, or torpedo barbs. They have lots of names, but they're the same fish. They're beautiful. These guys are around 2 inches. Some of them are a little bigger. They've fully colored up. They have the bright red on them and the yellow on the tails. Just spectacular fish, and they are a steal right now on the website. If you're looking for a group of these, you will not find them for even close to the price I have them at right now. Super good price. In fact, most of these fish you're not going to find in this size even close to the price that they're available at dansfish.com. So little plug there. Anyway, if you'll notice, there is nothing else in here with these guys. I originally did have Corydoras on the bottom, some Skunk Corys, but these guys are such aggressive feeders. Not mean, like they didn't bite the Corys, but they're so fast to the food that the Corys were getting outcompeted for the food, so I had to move them to another tank. And I found with large schools of barbs, that's generally the case. You have to be really careful keeping other fish, at least slower feeders like Corydoras or bottom feeders, in with a large group of barbs, because they can get outcompeted really easily, I guess. So here's tank number 2 on row number 2. These are, what are these? Dwarf Rainbows. Sorry. Dwarf Rainbow fish. Awesome little guys. That red on the fins with the metallic blue body, they're a favorite. These guys are, some of them are getting close to 2 inches, but most of them are around 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches, I would say. And on the bottom here, we have Skunk Corys, which are fantastic, fun little guys for sure. And a couple of random pencil fish. I cycled this tank way long ago with pencil fish, and I've still got a few in there. They're not for sale, I just use them as dither fish. It's nice when you put new fish in a tank that there's some established, peaceful little fish in there for them to show them the way, if you will. So that's what those are for. All right, moving on to the next tank. Now the light in here, this is tank number 3 on row number 2. So this is our 6th tank. These are Turquoise Rainbows. What is that name? Womana Census or something like that. But the light here, that light, only one of the sides is working. Half of it is burned out. So this tank is pretty dim right now. But there's still a beautiful fish. I do have a video of these. I believe I released a video of these on my YouTube channel. I'll have to double check. If I didn't, I will. I have all the footage. But they're a gorgeous blue to turquoise fish. They're aptly named. They're a fun fish, and they're a color that you don't see very often in the hobby. And on the bottom here, some more Skunk Corys, because they seem to do great with the rainbows. All right, so I'm going to turn us around here. Going back, gotta scoot everything over here just a tad, sorry. It's gonna get loud and weird. Okay, we landed. So Algae Farm, huge algae farm. What's in here are some Corydoras Malini on the bottom there. And then this is the tank that the Aplochilus blockeye were in. They're almost gone. I've got a few left that came out of the weeds after I caught all the ones I knew about. But I think they're all females. So I guess I'll be putting a group of females up for sale. Unless I'm hoping I can find one male at least. So far I haven't, but I haven't looked super closely. If I can find a male, then they'll be put up as a breeding group. If not, I'll just put them up as a group of females. And maybe someone that has a male will be interested. But anyway, cool little killifish. You don't see it very often. Just a few left. Almost sold out of those guys. And again, absolute algae farm for sure. Alright, moving over to the next tank. I really like this tank. It's not a whole lot in here. There's some good Java moss, Java fern, some assorted guppies. If you order assorted guppies from me, these are some of the ones you might get. And then there's some Betachnoides in here. They usually hang out under that log there, between the log and the bottom of the tank. And then you won't see them in here, but there's also, well, there's a few. Let me see if I can get one on camera. There's some Aplochilus dei. There's one in those plants. I don't know if you can see them. But right at the moment, since the camera's out, the Aplochilus dei are hiding up in the plants. So these are some that I held on to breed. I'm not having a ton of luck breeding them this time around, so I don't know if I'll be able to, which is weird. I've bred the heck out of them before, but yeah, anyway, that's what this tank is. Almost everything, this tank's fairly empty. Most of the Aplochilus dei I had in here got sold. Okay, next tank over. So these are some Parkinsoni rainbows, which I think they're absolutely stunning. They're like fire in the water. They're beautiful fish. These guys are 2 inches-ish. Some are getting on 3 inches, but I would say 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches. Yeah, 1 or 2 of them might be 1.5 to 1 3/4 of an inch, somewhere in there. But they're getting pretty good size. Just that bright orange on them is pretty awesome that they get. It's like fire in the water when a group of these swims by. So, great rainbow fish. There and there was some more Corydoras mellini, fairly large group of Corydoras mellini that we have down there on the bottom, just to do the Cory thing. Alright, so I'm going to do all the top tanks first because I have the tripod set at the right level for that. So let's go to the next row over. Hope you don't experience any vertigo as we go over. But here we go. Alright, and we have landed. So this is a tank of grow outs. These are all babies that I raised here. I might need to raise this up a bit. But these are Wapoga red laser rainbow fish, the Melitania rubra-vittata. These guys are almost all over 1 inch now, barely. So 1 inch to biggest 1.25 inches maybe is roughly where these guys are at. Maybe some are still a little under 1 inch. But a nice group of them that were bred and raised right here at Dan's Fish. I'll show you the parents in a minute, but these are the babies growing out in here. The next tank over has some more Aplochilus dei, and then on the bottom, oh, they all just ran and hid, of course, because I have the camera. These are some more Peacock Gudgeons. So I've got a few more Peacock Gudgeons. I'm going to throw them up on the website soon. Ready to go, except for this female. She looks a little bloated, so I'm going to put her in an Epsom salt bath to see if we can't help her relieve her eggs. I'm not sure why she's bloated. There's plenty of males in there, but she, not bloated, I'm sorry, egg bound. And I'm not sure if it's serious or not. I don't know if she's truly bound or just really full of eggs. But she's been like that for a little while, a couple weeks now, and she doesn't appear to be spawning out. So I'm going to give her an Epsom salt bath just to be on the safe side and help her pass them if she is bound up for any reason. So anyway, she's got a ton of eggs in her. And I don't think it's bloat. I really think it's just eggs. So another good clump of Java moss here. And no, for everyone that's asking, no, I will not sell it. I don't have enough. Everyone that's about to ask me if I'll sell them Java moss, no, I won't. Sorry, I just don't have enough. It's taken me many, many months to grow this tiny clump I had into all the Java moss you're going to see throughout this tour. And until I have a bunch in every tank, I'm not going to be selling it. So, sorry. A little selfish about the Java moss, I guess. So here's another tank, the next one over. This is another tank of more rainbow fish, more of the rubra-vittata or the Wapoga red laser rainbow fish. Really, really gorgeous fish. Right now they aren't because they're just babies, but they're the same size as the others that I showed you. But they're an awesome fish when they're all growed up. All right, next tank over. So here we have some rice fish and a couple spare flagfish that I had some flagfish in here and I thought I got them all out, but there must have been some eggs because those two hatched. And now we move to, again, some Java moss and a whole bunch of flagfish that I'm growing out in here. So these are all babies that are growing out. Some of them are sexing out at this point. But there's a bunch in here, just growing out. And a nice big plant of, here, let's move this, of Java Sprite, kind of starting to grow a little bit emergent. This is my favorite way to do it if I have them in a tank with fish that don't jump. And flagfish, unlike most killifish, are not big jumpers. I haven't had any jump out. But nice big clump of water Sprite up there at the top. Just gives fish a place to hang out looks kind of cool and keeps water quality up to par. So that's what that's for. Far. Yeah, talking's hard. And anyway, whole bunch of flagfish in here growing up. Yeah, I think you can see them. Yep. Alrighty. Now here are the parents of those rainbow fish. This is my original breeding colony of Wapoga red lasers. And again, sorry for the writing on the tanks. Sometimes you just have to give instructions, and that's the best way to make sure it's seen. Just write it right on the tank. So they're an awesome fish, really beautiful. They're max size right now, which is about 3 inches, and they're active, they're peaceful. You couldn't ask for a better fish. And up here, there's a whole bunch of babies that have grown up in here with them. Now, usually rainbow fish, in order to get babies, you have to have a ton of plant cover, like tons, way more than I have, because they're so quick. They eat their babies really quickly. But there were a few that made it and got to, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. And then once a small school of them made it, then a whole bunch more appeared. It's almost like they just needed to get a little school of little fish up there that they had tried to eat and couldn't, that they gave up and just stopped trying to eat their fry, because now I've got tons of them in here. Usually when I breed any rainbow fish, this species included, I pull the eggs and raise them artificially because they eat their eggs so much. But in this case, this is one of the, it doesn't happen much. This is one of the only times I've had a lot of baby fish growing up with the parents when it comes to rainbow fish. And there's some plants up there, but it's not that much. I mean, there's a big bare gap there, and there's a little bit there, but it's not thick. It looks thick from the angle we're looking at it, but it's, I don't know, maybe only 1/4 of the tank has any cover. But yep, got babies coming up. And then in here, and they'll be hiding now because of the camera. They're usually out and about, but they're camera shy. Are the last, I've sold most of them, but I still have under the filter there some really awesome Corydoras elegans. Let me see if I can get in there. They're worth it. This is a great fish for anyone that's never kept them. They're a highly variable species in pattern and color. They don't get really big, maybe around 2 inches, maybe a little smaller normal. So they're a smaller Cory, not like a Pygmaeus, but they're a smaller Cory, and they're a ton of fun. There's one more group in there, waiting for someone to take them home. All right, so that's that tank. Now we're gonna move to the next area. So let me show you what we've done so you can kind of get an idea of where we're at. So we did all these top tanks from when we first entered this door. This big ugly, oh, I'm still zoomed in, that's why. Just a sec. It's like, what's going on? So I can tell my kids just came home from school and started practicing their piano. So it's a lively household. Sorry if there's a little noise. But anyway, we looked at all the top tanks on here and on these 2 rows and on this row here. Now we're about to show you these guys here, okay? So that's what we're gonna be looking at next. All right, so I've got my camera here on my little cart, my makeshift dolly, and here we go. So the first tank here has mostly guppies in it. So what they are is it's a Santa Maria Endlers project. That male there, those 2 males, are Santa Maria Endlers. And I got them a while ago, and they didn't come with any females at all. And I couldn't get any females. So I've taken a few of my Tequila Sunrise Guppy females and put them in here with these Endlers to get some babies, which I'm going to back cross to the males in the hopes that I can, after a few generations, get a nice breeding population of Santa Maria Endlers, since I can't seem to get any females here in the United States. Maybe some Endler geek out there knows where to get some, but I couldn't find any, so I just am doing this project. So in another tank I have the F1 generation of these, the females with the males, and so I'll show you that in a little bit. But This is Tequila Sunrise females with Santa Maria Endlers, in the hopes that I can get a colony of Santa Maria Endlers going. And true to guppy style, there are constantly babies in here. Hopefully you can see them with the glare. Probably looks like they're swimming in midair because of all that glare, but a bunch of babies. And I just make sure to separate them before they start breeding, so I can make the project work. And on the bottom here of this tank are a whole bunch of false Julie Corys, so Corydoras trilineatus. Again, great little Corydora. Alright, so that's what's going on in that tank. When I'm ready for the killifish order, I'll just clear these out into a smaller tank. That won't be a problem. Those guppies there. So those aren't for sale. That's one of the few groups that is not for sale right now. Alright, so here's another tank. Has some reserve Aplochilus dei in it, like this guy there that just darted off because he saw the camera. Usually they're pretty easy to film, they're pretty outgoing, but not today with the camera here. But there's some assorted guppies in here. Just stuff that the Tequila Sunrise guppies dropped that came out not Tequila Sunrise. So there's all these assorted guppies coming out of there. So they must have got hit up with something that wasn't a Tequila Sunrise male at one point before I got them. I keep the males and females completely separate unless I'm specifically trying to breed. So anyway, some really cool guppies there. And on the bottom we have, see if we can see them here, some Corydoras habrosus, some little pygmy Corys. These guys are awesome. I can't say enough about Corydoras. They're great fish, peaceful, great personality. Please get a group. They only do well in groups, and that's when the fun is, when they bounce around each other like a big clown car. They're fun to keep in groups, and they need it. They're a very social fish. So anyway, Corydoras habrosus. This next tank is the same. Oh, there go all the Aplochilus dei darting away. So this is some holdbacks of Aplochilus dei for hopefully a breeding project. And then I have all these assorted male guppies in there to keep them company and keep them outgoing. Kind of as a dither fish, but not for aggression so much as socialization. And then on the bottom of the tank, more Corydoras habrosus. So that, there's a few left. I still probably got a couple dozen, maybe 2-3 dozen Corydoras habrosus all told. Most of them have been sold, but still have a good number, so they're still available. All right, so that, I'm going to flip you around, get ready for some vertigo. Here we go. Ah, sorry. So that's the top shelf of the 75. So all the 75 gallons in the top row. So I'm going to take you around now and show you the bottom rows, okay? So let's go over to where we started and make the same trek, but this time we'll just do the bottom. All right, so that's what we're doing. Okay, so we're on our way over. Pulling my little cart that's now in the way, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, cart's gone. So here we go. All right, this tank has a few left. Let me get my, I think this is okay. Still has a few white-cheeked gobies. Not a ton of them left. I'll have to count them and figure out exactly how many I have left and then post them. But I would guess there's maybe 8 or so left in here. Most of them have sold, but they're a great little goby. I have a video of them at Dan's Fish on YouTube, so feel free to check that out. On the bottom here, I've got an interesting fish. That right there, let's zoom in. That is not a goby. It came in with the gobies, but it's not. It doesn't have a fused pelvic fin, and I think it's a gudgeon of some kind. Oh, it's really not focusing. Oh, there we go. It is focusing slowly. There we go. So that, I don't know. I wonder if it's a juvenile, like sleeper goby would be the common name. Although I don't think it's a true goby because those pelvic fins don't suction. And I'm not sure if a sleeper goby is a true goby or is it more of a gudgeon or something. But anyway, there's that random fish. But everything else in here is a white-cheeked goby, and there's just a couple. Let me zoom out again. Just a few of them left. All right. Next tank over. Let's see here. Okay, there are a few draped fin barbs left down here, hanging out with the Corydoras. There's a few males over there. They get a little camera shy though. And then some albino Corydoras and Neas. Now these draped fin barbs are absolutely stunning, really stunning when they go into their breeding display. The males raise that dorsal fin and it's massive and brightly colored, and they wave it around and shimmy and display to each other and to the females, and it is one of the most gorgeous sights in nature as far as I'm concerned. One of probably my favorite barb ever. Just fantastic. All right, next over, Aryan red rainbows. Still got a few of them. Actually got a decent number of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them. So I'll be posting those on the website. I believe, oh, maybe there's one female in there. Maybe. But I think they're pretty much males. So great for a display tank. Not so good if you're trying to breed. But great if you want a good looking tank. A tank full of these are stunning. That bright chrome is just, I don't know where else in nature you get that bright chrome with that blood red, but they're fantastic. It's like a sports car. And then down here, more albino Aeneas. Have them coming out of my ears, tons of them. Tons of them. I've raised a lot of them, and still have some of the group that I originally brought in too. So if you need Aeneas, Corys, something peaceful for the bottom of your aquarium, I've got you covered. All right, next over. So we're going to go now to this row. Down here we have some swordtails. These are a koi swordtail, and this is a great tank. All that Java moss there and over there, and these guys are in heaven. Some water Sprite up the top. They've got a great tank. So when you order koi swordtails from me, this is what you would get. And if they're not full grown, they're close to it. They're still growing a little bit, but they're getting close to full grown. Anyways, I've always had a soft spot for swordtails. They were one of the first fish I ever kept, and I've loved them ever since. Check out this clump of Java moss. This thing is amazing. There's a little bit of Java fern in there getting buried too, but I love that clump of moss. Now that has been growing since last summer, so that's almost a year's growth. So I'm going to take some of that and spread it to some other tanks. But it was a tiny little clump, and a year later that's what you get. But it takes that long. I mean, this stuff grows so slow. Here's some tri-colored swordtails. Basically they're like a koi sword, but they have some black in them to bring out the third color. So if you order tri-colored swordtails, that's what you'll get. Hope you're enjoying the piano accompaniment that my kids are providing. The piano's right above me. Next floor up, right above me. All right, and then check this out. This is awesome. So another great clump of Java moss, just going nuts in there, and then some more up top there. So anyway, next tank over. Here we go. So this is a tank of grow outs of Limia perugiae. This is a beautiful live bearer. It's a wild type live bearer, and it looks so much better in person than you're ever going to see in a video or a picture. Most of their beauty is in this fantastic blue iridescence that you just don't pick up. So anyway, if you're interested in a cool wild type live bearer, I have a video on these on my YouTube channel, Dan's Fish, and please check it out. These guys are just sexed out now. They're young. They're only about half grown. So you'll get a lot of life out of these. And they're a smoking deal right now. And check out this tank they're in. So this is the only tank I have that has any blackbeard algae in it. So there's that. But besides that, check out that clump of Java moss, and then it's taken forever, but a nice clump of Java fern as well growing out. And this is the first batches of, see those little babies? So these guys are dropping their first batches of fry ever right now. And there's probably a dozen little fry in there that they've dropped over the last couple of weeks. So that gives you an idea of their age. They're just old enough to be dropping their very first batches of fry. And they don't tend to eat their fry if they're well fed and if you have plenty of plants. But they will eat them if neither of those conditions is met. So to get really good yield, you want to take the females out and put them in a brood tank. But you can keep a colony going for sure in a tank that's well planted. All right, next up, this is what's left of the Ember Tetras. I've sold several hundred of these, and I've still got a good number. And they're still doing great. They're just about full grown, which isn't big. Ember Tetras, if they get an inch, I don't know if I've ever seen one an inch. I mean, they're a small fish. And a cool fish though. And I like this fish partly because I think they're awesome, they're peaceful, they're unique, bright orange to red. Really nice looking fish, but also because I got to hang out with Heiko Blair a couple years ago in Los Angeles, and he told the story of finding them, which was pretty cool. Apparently they're named after his mother. He named them after his mother, Amanda. So they're Amandiae, I believe. I hope I'm not getting that story wrong. I'm doing this on the fly, but I believe this is the fish he was talking about. Anyway, Ember Tetras with some little albino Corydoras to mop up. Nice, peaceful, soothing tank. Now we move over here to something that is beautiful. Oh man, they hate the camera. I'm going to put the tripod down because they tend to stay at the bottom and hug the bottom when they feel threatened. And since I have the camera out, sorry about the movement, since I have the camera out, they feel threatened. But look at how beautiful these are. These are Odessa Barbs. They're fully colored. They are brilliant. Now, they're not Greg Sage Odessa Barbs. They're farmed on a fish farm for sure, but they're nice. They're in great condition. They're fully colored up, and anything short of the Greg Sage Barb, this is as good as it gets. So I'm just going to let you look at them for a little bit. Hopefully they're showing up okay despite the glare. It's impossible to get a non-glare video unless you turn off every light except for the light on the fish tank you're filming, and that's impossible to do in a tour like this, of course. So they're in there with some Corydoras Malini. I'm just really careful to make sure that the Malini get some food when I'm feeding the barbs. So I'll feed the barbs on one side of floating food, and they rush over there, and then I'll feed a sinking food on the other side for the Corys. Is kind of how I work that out. One day I'll move the Corys out just so I don't have to do that, but for now it's okay. Anyway, they're gorgeous. I love this fish. They're so pretty. Okay, next tank over is one of my favorites. This is, let me get this raised up. This is a tank of Limia niger fasciata, the humpback Limia or tiger Limia. I'm honestly not sure which. I've talked with Greg Sage about it a little bit, and we're not sure if they're humpbacks or tigers or maybe a cross. We don't know. But they're a cool looking fish. None of the males have developed a really big humpback, which is why I wonder. But maybe they're just not old enough yet. I'm not sure. But look at this. This is a lively tank, full of color, full of personality. And look at all those babies. And that's just a small portion of the tank. There are so many hundreds of babies in here. Like, every time I think I've sold some, they drop a few hundred more. A highly prolific fish, mainly just because I have so many in the group, I guess. But they don't eat their kids. Imagine that. Parents that don't eat their kids in the fish world, in the livebearer world. But anyway, so many babies, and that's just a small portion of them. But I like this fish. I think their color, even though it's not gaudy, It's distinct, like the black pops out nicely against the spangly kind of beige, and then they have yellow, like golden sections on the face and the sides and the tail. So they're not a gaudy, brightly colored fish, but they're sure a pretty fish, and in a group they're full of personality. They're a good tank mate, they're not aggressive. I don't know, I don't have enough good things to say about them. They've been a pleasure to work with. They've been super hardy too. And I'm keeping them in really soft water. For those that don't know, all my fish are kept in really soft water because that's what my natural local water system is. And they do, live bears tend to do better in harder water, but I've had these for a few generations now in soft water, and they're doing great. So they'll live in soft water or hard water. They'll do just fine for you. So anyway, there's some Corydoras Malini here on the bottom as well, but we've seen several schools of Corydoras Malini, so I don't know how much you want to see them, but is that showing up or is that just showing reflection? There. Am I getting any of the Corys in here for you? I hope so. There's a good school, a dozen or so in there. And then look at the top. So this is, I think, why I have so many babies. This is all water Sprite. Not big, robust water Sprite, just a layer of water Sprite over the top. And it is so full of babies that it's ridiculous. I mean, when I showed you the babies, I just showed you the ones you can see in the front. But this stuff is absolutely teeming with life. So, I mean, it's really fun. You get a tank, you throw some fish in it, and then boom, you just get like this massive colony. And that's what the Limia nigrifasciata have done for me. So, yeah, I like them a lot. All right, so here's the next tank over. This is, oh, let me lower this. Oh, where am I? Here I am. Okay, so these are rice fish. For those that don't know, rice fish are fantastic. They're an iridescent blue. This is the Wawari species, or the Daisy's rice fish. Iridescent blue on the males with some orange and red markings on the fins. Females a little duller, but as far as natural rice fish colors that you can get with any kind of consistency, this species is the prettiest one, I think. There are some domesticated forms of rice fish that are a different species, the Japanese rice fish, which are really pretty, but they've been bred, you know, domestically for generations, like guppies, to get there. This is a natural form, and right now it's late enough in the day that they don't have any eggs left on them, but every morning you come in and the females are just full of eggs, little great clusters of eggs under their pelvic fins, and they carry them there for a little while, and then they go over to the plants, the mops and the plants here, and they deposit the eggs there where they hatch, or the Corydoras eat them. So here's some Corydoras mete. Only a few left. I think I've got a dozen or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's a dozen in here. But this is an outgoing Cory, really, I think really pretty, with the black markings that look kind of like a skunk type of Cory. Anyway, fun fish. Okay, next one over. So these are the Tequila Sunrise male guppies. And I have these just because I wanted to keep a guppy, and these are probably my all-time favorite guppy. Just a normal old Tequila Sunrise. Not expensive, super hardy, and just gorgeous. I mean, just like fire in the water. Big group of these. You can see them from across the room. They just glow. So I got them just because I like them. But anyway, they're all for sale, so if you want some, they're half off right now. They're a really good deal. Oh wow, that guy ate a ton. Holy cow, there's one in there that must have eaten like just a whole bunch. He's huge. Okay, next over is the female guppies. So same thing, just female Tequila Sunrise. And true to guppy form, some babies, just because there always are. So that's what's in there. Now, I have put an Endler male in here because I am drawing the babies out of this for my Endler project, and So that's what they're hit up with, just so you know in advance if you're a breeder. But most people are just going to be keeping guppies for fun, so yeah. And by the way, all the... Actually, no, I don't want to say that. That's not quite true, what I was thinking. Now that I think about it more, I'm not going to say it because I'm not sure that it's true. Anyway, that's it for those two rows, just so you can kind of orient yourself. We looked at the bottom, 75 gallons. Let me see here. For here, for there, and for here. So we stopped at the end there, where the Tequila sunrise guppies are. Now we're going to go over and do the bottom of these right here, this aisle. So we start here with some more Swordtails. Again, I just like Swordtails, always have. One of the first fish I ever kept, one of the first fish I ever bred, and so yeah, they're one of the fish that got me into the hobby, so I've always liked them. Now these I didn't order. These were a surprise. I actually ordered Calico Neon Yellow Platies, which are one of my favorite Platies ever. But this is what they sent me, a bunch of lyre tail Swordtails. So this is what I have for sale. So I've had these for a good long time now, no problems, doing great, all acclimated to soft water. Had them since December. They put on a lot of size. It's now almost June. It's May, what, 21st? And so they're doing great. There are a few Corydoras trilineatus in this tank as well. And a big old Java Sprite plant, because that's how I roll. So I love them. The leaves under the water look so different than these shoots they put out for emergent growth. And I just think they're a fantastic plant. They're a plant that I almost can't kill, and that's why I keep them. I'm really bad with plants. Not really, I just don't put the work in. Okay, so this is going to be, oh yeah, this is an Algae Farm, which is too bad because these fish are awesome. So these are clown barbs, which maybe you can see. When I did the video of these and put it on my channel, they hadn't developed their red yet. So since then they have. They've developed their nice red colors, and you can't see it at all, can you? Because of all the algae. So I'm going to move to the next tank. Do that another time. This tank, next one over, is more rice fish with some more Corydoras habrosus on the bottom. So just some Corydoras habrosus. Only a few left in here, probably 10 or so, because I sold most of them, and then a nice colony of rice fish. Basically what I did is I bought 100 rice fish, and the order didn't quite fill up all my tanks, so I ended up dividing the rice fish out into any tanks that were empty, just so that I could have some life in the tank and make sure it was nice and cycled and established for the next batch of fish. So I could have put all these rice fish in one tank, no problem, but I wanted to utilize all the space I had and get it, you know, kind of cycled up and going. So that's why they're in here. Okay, over here. Okay, these clown barbs we might be able to see a little better because there's a little bit less algae on the tank. Super fast swimmers. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. Let me see if I can get some good video of them or not in here. They're super quick. I'm just going to leave the camera there and hope they swim into it, I think. But they've developed, since I did the video for YouTube originally, I have a YouTube on a species profile, a YouTube video, a species profile called Clown Barbs, I think. But since that video, the red has come in. So this is what they look like when they get their full coloration. Or they're not really fired up to spawn right now, but they're fairly colored up right now. So just want to let you know that they do get a lot prettier than that video I took when they were younger. Anyway, I think they're cool, and they're a smoking deal right now. I think they're like $4, or the smaller ones like $2, something like that. So anyway, danfish.com, huge sale. All right, let's see if we can get these guys. These guys over here can be a little bit difficult to film. They're zebra loaches, which are my favorite boteid. I know clown loaches are awesome, but I really think these guys are better than clown loaches for an aquarium. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, they're very peaceful, unlike many botiids. They're not aggressive. Number two, they don't get big. These guys are going to top out at about 4 inches is all. So they don't get massive like clown barbs. So you can keep a school of them easily, which is what loaches want. Botiids, you know, clown loaches need a big school, but it's hard to do that because they're so darn big. But these guys only get 4 inches, so you can keep a big school of them no problem. And then the third reason, I think I'm on reason number 3, is just their color. It doesn't go away when they get older. Okay, there's the school of them. Oh, they're hard to film. I've got a ton of them though. Their color doesn't wash out when they get older. That happens with, say, clown loaches. Clown loaches are vibrant yellow when they're little, and then as they get older, that yellow kind of fades into a brown, and you lose a lot of what people like them for, which is their color. And then you get people with these large clown loaches that just want to get rid of them, and it becomes a problem. Now, I know they're adorable personality-wise, and I'm not saying they're a bad fish. I just think for the average hobbyist that doesn't have a massive tank where they can keep a ton of massive fish, the zebra loaches would be a better standard fish, and that's why I got them. Now there's one here, I think he's this guy, that has like when he came in, like a broken back, and I've had him the whole time. It's healed up, but it healed crooked. So he's my little gimp zebra loach, and I'm just, you know, keeping him because he deserves a life, and he doesn't seem to be in pain or anything. So don't worry if you order the zebra loaches. I'm not going to ship him to you. He's just my gimpy little loach friend. But if you saw one with a severely crooked back, please know that that's not one I'll sell you. That's not a disease or anything. I'm not sure what it is. My thought is either he grew malformed, or at one point in his life he must have broken his back and it healed wrong. But anyway, that's what's in here. There's a couple female high fin barbs in here, and a couple Tequila sunrise male guppies that I just put in here to dry out the loaches, because they get a little more confident if there's fish swimming around the tank, and they'll come out better. Next tank over, this had a whole bunch of rice fish in it, but I think I've almost sold all of them. So pretty much what's left is some Corydoras, some Skunk Corys, and some albino Aeneas Corys. These Skunk Corys are the ones that I took out that used to live in with the roseline barbs, and I had to remove them just because they were getting out-competed so bad. But aren't they cute? I just think they're awesome. I'm not sure exactly which species they are. I thought they were Archoatus, but then someone who seemed to know something about Corys saw a picture and said that they might be, but they weren't sure and all that. So I'm just selling them as Skunk Corys. Again, I think they're Archoatus, but I'm not that much of a Cory geek to be able to look at a picture and identify them. In fact, that's one thing in the Cory world that kind of bugs me. It seems like a lot of people just look at a picture and identify a Cory, but they change their color so much based on their background and their happiness level, their mood, if they're stressed, their health, their size, that, I don't know. I think it's a little bit probably BS to look at a picture and think you can just identify a Cory. In fact, for most fish, I don't think that's a very safe way to identify a fish. And I worry about it because I think crossbreeding could easily happen if someone shows a picture of a fish and they're like, oh yeah, it's this, and they're like, oh, then I can breed it with my other this, and then what if it isn't that for sure? But anyway, I'm not going to get on my soapbox too much about that. Here's some Skunk Corys is what we're calling them, if you want some cool Corydoras. Alright, so we're going to look, we've made it this far, so now we're at the rack. Told you this was going to be a long one. Rack of 20-gallon longs. What we have in here are, first off, I put some water Sprite in here. Hang on, let me get set up. There it is. And there must have been some eggs in it because I've got suddenly some fry in here. So let's see if we can find the little guys. There's one right there. There's like just 6 or 8 of them, and I'm pretty darn sure that they're rice fish. That's what they look like to me. So there's one, there's another one, there's one down there. But the main purpose of this tank is just to keep the tank going, is it's full of blackworms like this. And then there's also snails in there, and there's also scuds in there, or amphipods. And so basically, I'm just growing live food in these tanks for now. And that does a few things. That keeps the tank alive while I don't have any fish in it. It gets free food for my tank. Every now and then I'll scoop out some live food and throw it in with the fish. And also it keeps a big snail population going. Because when a tank is empty of fish, as I empty these tanks out and sell the fish off, I'm going to want to keep the cycle going. So I'll grab a bunch of snails and I'll put them in the tank and feed the heck out of them to keep the biological cycle going. And then when I get the fish in, then I'll gradually cut it down to the amount of food that the fish need to thrive, and the snail population will slowly decrease. So that's why I have tons of snails. It's a convenient way to keep a tank going between fish, and that way I can have a tank going for a few weeks without fish in the tank, so any fish diseases will hopefully die out, any parasites and things like that. Now I know that there are a couple parasites that use snails as an intermediate host, and there are some fish diseases that can definitely last longer than a couple weeks, but in general it gets rid of a lot of stuff. So I can empty a tank, throw some snails in it, leave it empty for a couple weeks before I put new fish in it, and that takes care of a lot of the problems that you could have by introducing a disease to the new batch of fish that comes in by putting them in a tank that's previously been established. So that's kind of my strategy for that. All right, up here, same thing, but with some awesome Java moss. By the way, there are no scuds in here, no amphipods. If there were, they would eat that Java moss to bits. They just eat everything. So they're great for cleaning moss, but if you leave it in there too long, they'll eat it down if you have a big population of scuds or amphipods. All right, we're almost to the end of the tanks. So here we go, more of that, more of that, more of that. And then these bottom tanks, basically tons of blackworms. That's what's in here to keep the cycle going as I go across the bottom of the 30-gallon breeders. So all the bottom tanks here, I don't have any fish at the moment, so I just throw blackworms in there and feed them and grow blackworm colonies, and that keeps the cycle going until I need to use the tank for more fish and grows live food. So that's what's going on there. So let's go look at these. So we'll start back here. So these are more Limia nigra fasciata, humpback limia or tiger limia or both, I'm not quite sure, that I'm growing up. So I took a batch of fry out of that other limia tank and put them in here to grow them up, and then a whole bunch more fry appeared in that other tank. So these are the previous batch. I sold quite a few, but these are what's left. Still a good amount. I don't know what there are, 30 of them in there maybe. And then down here are some baby albino Aeneas Corydoras, which I'm raising up. I think I've only got 4 left, but I spawned those here and am raising them up. It's kind of fun. Below that, more flagfish, Jordanelle floridae, nice pupfish, killifish, beautiful, hardy, easy, kind of aggressive, and like to eat plants, so be careful. Although, as you can see, I've got a lot of Java moss and water Sprite in this tank, so they don't eat plants too horribly if they have plenty of other food. More flagfish. I have so many flagfish. So these are what I sell as the unsexed flagfish, all these fish I'm showing you. Now some of them are sexing out for sure. Oh, and there's one Wapoga red laser dwarf rainbow fish in there that ended up in there when I moved the plant in there and hatched and grew up with them. But mostly flagfish. Some Java moss, yes! It's growing up. And that's a spawning mop. That's what I would have raised them in, and I put that in there so they can hide in it if they're small and need to get away from a bully or something. And then up here, guess what? Oh, more flagfish. Like seriously, these, I've raised so many of these. They're a ton of fun to breed. They're easy to breed. They're hardy. So that's why I have so many of them. And they're beautiful too. Right now they're tiny and don't have their color, but an adult male, man, they're a pretty fish. Anyway, bunch of water Sprite there, growing kind of emergent, some of it, and then some more Java moss. Down here is, where are they? Oh yeah, a colony of Skunk Corys. I tried to get these to breed. I'm sure they did, but I never found the eggs in time to raise them. It's kind of a half-hearted effort, but they're living large. In this, there's a bunch of, so all these babies here are from the Santa Maria Endler project that I'm trying to get going. So these are mostly going to be crosses of Tequila Sunrise with Santa Maria males in here. There might be some residual guppy male sperm in there, so some of these might be male guppy progeny, but most of them are going to be from those male Santa Maria Endlers. It's hard to know though because they retain the sperm so long. So then Corydoras trilineatus, a breeding group of them there, and there's a bunch more over under the filter. Then the last 30 breeder, by the way, I know these tanks are ancient, they're scratched up, they're hard to see through, so it probably doesn't make the best video, but a bunch of Corydoras Aeneas albinos. This colony is the parents of the babies that I had. I've sold most of them, but I still have like 4 left. And then these are the females, which are an Endler slash Tequila Sunrise Guppy cross. And then somewhere in here is an Endler male to back cross these females too. And I do have some little babies. They're going to be super hard to see in the scratched up tank, but they're small still, these females, so this is their first batch of back crossed babies, so I'm anxious to see what those will turn into. Oh, here's the male over here. I mean, and that's why I want to do this. I think that is just a stunning fish, that bright orange belly with that black back. They're just beautiful. So it'll be worth the work for me. Some more of that project that are a little bigger. In here, if I can see them, is my breeder, male Beta rubra. He's spawned several batches for me and he's a great daddy. Here's some of his babies. There's one there. Sorry, let me sit down and find a good way to hold this camera steady for you. So, bunch of babies in here. They hide really well, but there's a dozen or 2 in here from one of his batches. He's a really good daddy. There we go. Baby Beta rubra. Great little wild type mouth brooding betta. Just fantastic. In here is his female, but she's hiding in those tubes somewhere, I think, so we won't see her. Down here, more of those Tequila Sunrise slash Endlers project. Then here is a bunch of rice fish that I'm growing up. These are spawned and raised right here in the fish room. And they're almost old enough that I can list them for sale as unsexed rice fish, I think. So might be doing that. Nice clump of Java moss. Some empty tanks. And then this is some old school guppies that just appeared in my tanks. Hang on. They were a hitchhiker. They came in and they're super old school. They're like you would see in the 70s. Kind of a clowny colored guppy. And I was just gonna, I don't know, feed them to something or whatever, but a couple of my customers saw them in some videos and were like, hey, what's that? They reminded them of, you know, back in the day keeping fish, and so they were interested in them. So I separated them out and I've been raising some. But these are basically what I'm calling retro guppies for anyone that wants to go back to the 70s and 80s and remember their childhood raising guppies. This is what they were. So kind of different. And then let's see here. We're not going to see them because they're hiding, but this is another. Sorry, I got to fix my pod here. This is another rubra female, beta rubra, a beta rubra male, an empty tank, and then here are another batch of beta rubra, which I don't know if we're going to see. Usually there's one hanging out here. There he is. Oops, he just started off. Anyway, there's several in there, but they're hard to see. Here is live food. So these are fruit flies right here. And this is a brand new culture, which I just set up. So there's some in there, but they haven't really bred yet. This is a culture which I started probably 2 weeks ago. And I fed out most of them. So they bred a ton. I've got a ton, but I've fed most of them. That's what that row is. And then this is the oldest row here, which is just about done. It's just about made all the use of the food that it can. So these are your normal fruit flies. These are your giant fruit flies. So Melanogaster or Melanogaster, I think is the scientific name. And then these are the Heidii. So new cultures, a couple weeks old cultures, really old cultures, and I just rotate through every week or two. I make a new culture. And these are microworms. And check them out, like tons of microworms. And then down here are some vinegar eels. These are healthy cultures. These ones here that have turned kind of that dark color. Let me show you. I'll compare them side to side. This is how you know when your vinegar eel culture is about crashed. Even without this dark here, like these two cultures, they're super old. They're still full of vinegar eels, but they're not in good shape. So you start new ones at that point. So that's how you know. Anyway, that about does it for an Around the World Fish Room tour. Whew! I know. It was a long one, but there's a lot of fish in here. So every one of those fish is currently for sale, unless I said otherwise, at dansfish.com. I'm trying to sell them all because I need to empty the tanks in preparation for a big shipment of killifish from Africa, like I said at the beginning of the video. So everything's a smoking deal right now. So if you're interested in buying any of these fish, please go to dansfish.com, and they're there. I should mention the wild type bettas I don't have for sale yet. I just don't have enough of them to offer them for sale. I'm still trying to get a group going. So, and those babies are just too small to ship comfortably right now. So, not the beta rubra. I think almost everything else, unless I mentioned it, is for sale. So, anyway, thanks for joining. Now you've seen it in more detail than you probably ever wanted. And that's the fish room, that's the fish, that's the tour. So until next time, have a wonderful day.